Hey, everybody, it's Jonah Lupton, your host of the Startup Sense podcast. Hope you're having a wonderful day. We have a great episode for you. On the phone, I have Ido Bornstein HaCohen. He is the current CEO of a company called Askem. The website is askem.com. That's ASKEM.com. What they do is they provide a service to businesses where they help those businesses do kind of market research and feedback surveys from large groups of people. They target those people through social advertising, and we're going to jump into all that in a second. The company's raised about $3 million, and they're based in New York. So that's kind of an overview. And now we'll start talking to Ido. Ido, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So tell us about yourself first. Kind of how did you become the CEO of this company?
Well, that's an interesting story. So I moved to New York with my family about 5 years ago with a public company called LivePerson, where I used to run. I ran the apps marketplace of LivePerson and all of the innovation, and then I spent about a few years running global corporate development and business development. My team ran all the strategic partnerships and the M&As, did a few M&As across the years. So I had a lot of connections with VCs, startup companies, and one of the VCs that I was in touch with had a company that was very interesting in a very interesting space, and they pivoted from a C2C type of a company, with a social app that we can talk about a little bit later, to the B2C or B2B2C space.
Right. Okay. Because your customers are other business. Your customers are other businesses, right?
You got it. Exactly. So our customers are other businesses, and we help them, reach out to their consumer base, whether it be other businesses or business professionals or actually, consumers. So they were looking for somebody that has B2B experience, and we knew each other pretty well. Started talking, and after a few months, I joined the company as a CEO and started running it out of New York.
Sweet. So what exactly do you guys do? I mean, you touched on it a little bit. Okay, so say what types of businesses do you work with? What size businesses? What industry? Are they all? Are they located all over the country? Or is it really just it's small to large? And I mean, do you have any focus?
Definitely. So, our mission is to make market research more accessible, right? Market research is today mostly used by very large enterprise brands, Fortune 500, because it's an expensive process, and there's a lot of service providers that are involved in that process. Everybody needs to get, insights from their consumer base. It's just very difficult to reach out and find that consumer base. That's, the most expensive part of doing market research, right? There's a lot of self-service tools to create those surveys, but then, once you create the survey, what do you do with it, right? I had a very interesting conversation with a company that had, a list of about 2,000 people, right? Their customers, by the way, that they engage with almost on a daily basis, and they wanted to ask for their opinion about a shift that they did in a service that they're providing, and they created a survey and they sent it out, and lo and behold, they had about 10 people respond to it, right, out of the 2,000.
Wow.
Exactly. So that's indeed one of the biggest challenges, and this space hasn't really changed in terms of getting people to actually participate. So, if you ask people that are very much involved in market research, you'll see that, this is one of their biggest challenges today, and, both from a timing perspective and a cost perspective, and we aim to change that, right? And we're doing it through advertising technologies, and we're just making it much easier to reach hyper-targeted audiences, people that are, that were considered impossible to reach from a market research perspective in the past. So, our services are provided to, if you're a small startup and you'd like to understand, what your target audience is thinking about, or you'd like to get some research-related information because you're fundraising and you want to show your investors that, you're going down the right path, or if you're a mid-sized type of a company that is looking to get, consumer insights, or even if you're a large enterprise, you can use our software. And the way that go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say surveys is a tricky business because I think, I get a lot of emails from companies that I've done business with asking for my feedback or to answer surveys. And if it's a company like Apple or Amazon, I'm just going to delete it. I just don't care. I'm one of millions of people that are getting that same email versus if I get an email from, the local coffee shop or my gym where I have a really personal connection, those are surveys that I'll take the time to fill out because I feel like that feedback may be put into action, to better the service that they're going to give me. So what types of surveys or what types of information are your clients trying to get out of these surveys? Is it for products and services that they haven't launched yet, that they're looking to develop and seeing what the market is looking for? Or, is it products and services that have already launched and maybe they're not gaining as much traction and they're trying to figure out why?
So, it's really interesting what you're saying here because there's two things that I'd like to touch on. One is, you mentioned that if you get a survey from Apple, you probably are going to delete it, whereas if you get a survey from, your local coffee shop, there's a better chance of you actually completing it. And that's exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for people that are passionate about a specific area, that are interested in that specific area, and as a result of that, would be happy to provide feedback without getting any incentives, right? So if you look at market research as a whole, there's a lot of bias related to market research today. Part of it is related to the fact that, people are incentivized to complete surveys. The surveys are very long in many of the cases, and it's very difficult to reach out and find the relevant target audiences. And all of those things are things that we solve through our software, right? We always recommend for people to ask before they actually do. We say, you have to question everything. Do not guess. There's a way for you to now reach out and find, the audiences that you need to get the feedback from. Use it. It's not very expensive, right? It's as opposed to some of the former tools. You're also going to get the information very fast, right? Because again, it's social related, and not only that, but you'll be able to slice and dice, the results that you're getting. Look at the different demographics, the different age groups, and see exactly what each one of them is saying in regards to your services. So, we always say before you launch something, whether you're a startup company or a mid-sized company or a Fortune 500 company, go out and ask your target audience. It's not going to be very expensive to you, and you're going to get the results really fast. After you launch it, of course, there's what we always recommend is to run it more than once. If you have an area that you'd like to get feedback on, survey your target audience before you launch the service. Then, keep on asking them as you go. Performance is a good way of measuring what people think, but it's not the only way. You should look beyond that. And the areas, go ahead.
I was going to say, which social platforms are you using to target these, respondents most often? Is it Facebook? Is it LinkedIn? Is it a combination of both of them and some others?
Yes. So, any advertising platform that enables us to target based on, the user's criterias or the user's demographics, we can work with. Our main focus today is Facebook due to the fact that there is, 1.8 billion people on Facebook. When people ask me, how big is your panel? Because this is usually the terminology that is very well known within the market research space, I always tell them, we can reach 1.8 billion people. It all depends on, the target audience that you're looking to target, and you could actually go to our website and go through the process on your own and see, what are the targeting capabilities that we provide, and how you build a survey, and how you actually get the results at the end of it.
This is Jonah Lupton, founder of the Lupton Group and host of the Startup Sense podcast. Are you struggling to find the right tech team to build your company's website or mobile app? Maybe you've developed a product but need help with your go-to-market strategy, including branding and marketing. Well, stop worrying, because my team at the Lupton Group can assist you with all of those needs. We specialize in helping entrepreneurs and startups of all sizes launch and grow their businesses. For a free consultation, you can email me at jonahlupton@gmail.com or visit our website at luptongroup.co. Right. I think this is why I believe that in the future, Facebook is going to be a bigger advertising platform than Google, because Facebook has so much more data on the user than Google does. Google really, the value of Google is if you're going into that search engine and specifically searching for something, versus Facebook is able to target you because they think you may be an ideal consumer for their product. I guess it's kind of two forms of advertising, but I think Facebook is way more valuable for the advertisers.
I think so as well. I think that the fact that Facebook can actually, look at things like interests and behaviors, so they aggregate the information based on things that you're looking at, but also who you are as a person. I think it makes it much more personal. And for me personally, I find that the ads that I'm getting on Facebook and all of their platforms are much more targeted than the ads that I'm getting in any of the publisher sites or on Google. Right. So talk to us about how are you landing some of these new clients? How does Askem how do you guys find your clients? So there's a couple of ways of doing so. We are finding that creating content around market research gets us really good results in acquiring new customers. There's always a question of inbound versus outbound, right? And we're doing both. On an outbound perspective, we use the well-known forms of cold calling and cold emailing. What we try to do is we always try to connect that with the inbound, right? So we've seen that content creation. We talked about a little bit about the travel survey that we did recently. Those kind of things, they get people thinking. There's so many companies trying to reach out to so many business professionals today that people are overwhelmed. So I think that once you provide the content and you show that you're doing things in a bit of a different way, and you let people reach out to you and try your tools on their own, right, that actually gets us much better success rate in acquiring new customers than going out and just cold calling them and those kind of things. Of course, we also participate in events and so on and so forth. But the interesting thing about this industry is that it's really changing, and you're seeing the industry. When I say the industry, I mean market research. You see it actually transforming, and I think it's going to go through a very big transformation in the next year or 2 years. So, on average, if I'm running a campaign through your platform, what could I expect to pay per response on the survey? Through social advertising, what does it typically cost? Is it 5 cents, 10 cents, 50 cents, $1? So we usually look at it from a project perspective, and a project is a combination of the survey that you're actually looking to get the response on, the type of audience that you're looking to find. Right, the more challenging it is to find that audience, the more expensive it is. And by the way, in the B2B space, it could get to a few $100s, not putting us aside for a second, but if you use the traditional ways of finding those people, it could actually you're trying to find a CMO or a healthcare professional or an IT professional, the cost could get to be very high. Our average project is between $3,500 to $5,000. So
Okay.
all in, for about $5,000, you get the insights that you need.
And how many respondents are businesses typically looking for on their surveys? Because I'm guessing a smaller local business probably doesn't need as many responses as a larger national business with more diverse consumer base.
Exactly. So we see usually the request is between 100 to 2,000, depending
Okay.
on the size of the business. And remember one thing. Remember that the part of the core of our platform is our ability to poll people in a representative manner, which means that if you have an audience of about 1 million people, you don't have to survey all of them. We will make sure that if you survey 600 or 2,000 of them, you'll get the representative sample that you're looking for that would represent the whole population, and that's a big part of what we're doing, and that's what usually differentiates just regular survey from a type of a market research polling.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. So you guys have raised a few $1,000,000. You're based in New York. How are you spending that investor money? Are you guys building out your team still? Is it mostly, you're still building the technology and the software, or is this mostly on sales and marketing?
So I'd say we're an early stage startup, so all of the above.
Okay.
We are yes, indeed. It's a very interesting space to be in. So we are, as we grow from a customer perspective, we also need people to help on that side. So I'm currently looking for somebody to help on the marketing side, so a marketing manager, and also an account manager or customer success on the survey side. We are, as a startup company, we always continue building and perfecting our product. And our focus right now is mostly on the go-to-market. So, most of the dollars beyond people that we're recruiting goes into, marketing and sales.
At what point does it make financial sense to kind of outsource the marketing versus bringing someone onto the team full time?
So, I think like any other thing, it's a combination. It's a question of bandwidth and a question of what are the things that you're outsourcing and what are the things that you're keeping in-house. The way that I look at it is you need to have, to start with 1 or 2 people that are managing both work that is done internally and also consultants and freelancers. The nice thing about the startup scene today is that it's getting easier and easier to get cost-effective labor to work on specific projects. So as long as you have a good plan, you can find people, whether in the domestic or nationally, that can help you in creating content, in advertising, and so on. So I always see it as you have to have somebody that is managing those processes internally, and then work with a few consultants externally as you keep on growing. And once you grow, start transitioning those things in-house.
I think that's a very, very smart strategy. Totally agree. Yep. You got to have kind of like a CMO on the team, developing the strategy, allocating capital, and then you go out and hire kind of the best PPC person, the best SEO person, the best email marketing person, rather than bringing someone in and trying to have them wear all those hats, where they may be decent at a couple of them, but not great. This way you can kind of outsource to, the best of the best. That's kind of what I've done. and it seems to be working. Um, what have been some of the biggest challenges over the last? When was the company started? Just to refresh my memory.
So the company started 2013. So it's
Okay.
been around for about 3 years.
Okay. So what have been, and you've been there most of those 3 years, right?
I actually joined a few months ago.
Oh,
So
okay.
yes, yeah. What have been the biggest challenges? I think
Yeah.
that you always strive for a perfect product market fit. So I think that's from a product perspective, right? Crystallizing the offer and the strategy, and then I think from a go-to-market perspective, since we are we're changing a traditional industry. It's amazing, by the way, that this industry hasn't changed so much, as the adjacent industries have. Right, so you look at marketing and marketing technologies, and you look at advertising technologies. Those two industries have completely changed, in the last 10 years or so, 15 years. Through the assistance of technology. So it's amazing that market research hasn't changed that much. But it's always challenging when you are transforming an industry, or when you're trying to change the way things have been done for almost 100 years, to get people to understand. So I think I mentioned before that people still ask me, what's the size of your panel? How many people do you have on your panel? And I try to explain to them that we have decided not to create a panel. What we do is we find people in an ad hoc manner, right? So you tell me I want to find a CMO to answer that question, I'll find you a CMO. I'm not going to recruit that CMO into a panel and then try to reach out to them when you tell me that you're looking for them, right? Which makes it much more, scalable from our perspective to find all of those target audiences.
Right. Totally understand. Yeah, I mean, because there's no way you could build. You would have to have hundreds and hundreds of different panels, and you'd never know when you would actually need those panel members to answer surveys. Then you have to worry about overloading them. And no, I think the way that you guys are doing it is the right strategy. What's the typical size company you work with? I mean, I know you say you work with some small businesses, and are you able to mention any of the bigger companies that you work with?
We work with companies that are, you could be as small as a startup. We recently ran a project with a campaign with a 15 people startup. They were looking to raise funds, and they were trying to understand a few things. One is they were trying to understand their value proposition and the frequency by which they should provide the services that they're providing, and also the way that they should be providing those services. So that's on one hand side. On the other side, all the way to the extreme, we work with companies like Intel. We've done some work with a few CPG brands. We did one of the nice stories that I like to tell is that a large CPG brand was trying to find women in a specific age demographic that are buying diapers online, and they just couldn't find them anywhere else. So they had the option either not to run the survey that they ran, or find somebody like ourselves. And luckily for us and for them, they found us, and we were able to get all of the responses that they needed from that specific target audience, which is very difficult to find. So the way that I look at us is we're like a SWAT team, and this is the way that we also I think that market research should be conducted today, right? Rather than having an hour-long type of an interview with hundreds of questions in it. I think that things should be more pinpointed. Our attention span, especially of the younger generation, is getting shorter and shorter. So asking all of those questions just leads to a situation where after after 5 minutes, people just start clicking on things just so that they would get the gift card that they were promised at the end, right? And that creates a misleading type of information that is then provided to those brands. So
right.
the way
I
that
think I think most
Yeah,
most common is, fill out this survey and you get entered to win a chance at a $500 gift card. And of course, none of us ever win a gift card.
that's true. That is another way of doing it. But think about the impact on the consumer, right? One, they're doing it because they're trying to get into that raffle, not because they're passionate about the specific subject. So the answers that you're going to get are not from people that are passionate about it, but just from people that are passionate about getting the gift card. And then beyond that, you have to ask yourself how accurate are the results. And you look at what happened at the election, and look at what happened with Brexit, and
Right.
and the fact that they've predicted something
Turns
that
out that
was
surveys aren't that accurate sometimes.
exactly, especially if they're long, and especially if you're not getting to the right people, and the distribution that you get is not as strong as it should be, and you get to a position where on the brand side, they're just trying to fill out the quotas that they have. Let's say they need to get to 100 responders, then, as they get closer to the 200 number, they would start looking for people that are similar to what they're looking for, but not exactly like they're looking for, because that's the only thing that they have. And on the consumer side, it's more around, how accurate are the results, or how, once you get past a certain question, how serious are you about providing the right answers, because you care about it versus the incentives that you're getting. So so regardless if it's a small business or an enterprise type of a company, our focus is on online surveys, pinpointed, 5 to 10 questions, visual, fun to complete, non-incentivized.
What are some of the metrics that you use or that you look at on a daily basis to kind of analyze the health of your company?
So there's a few things, a few different areas where we look at. I look at the KPIs. One of those areas is the customer acquisition and retention. So always look at from an advertising perspective, how much money are we spending, and then what's the conversion rate that is related to each of those channels that we're advertising in. And then from a product perspective, it's all about we look at survey completion just in the same way that you look at selling a product, right? Where the end goal for us is somebody completing the survey, responding to the whole survey, right? So we look at the cost per clicks. We look at and at the end of the funnel, so that's the beginning of the funnel, and then at the end of the funnel, we look at the completion rate, and we try to optimize it as much as we can based on the actual survey. So we look at everything. We break it apart. We're a data-based company, right? So one of the founders is a data scientist, and just we like looking at numbers, and we like looking at those KPIs and really analyzing. As an example, one of the things that we're looking at is within a specific survey, what's the drop rate within the survey itself? Is there a question where people drop? Can we, does it make sense to reorder those the questions, or maybe rephrase a specific question, because we've seen that a lot of people might drop in a specific area on the in the survey.
Okay, right. Do you guys ever lose money on any of these campaigns? Or, I mean, because you probably can't predict in all cases how much you're going to have to spend to get the number of respondents that the client's looking for, right?
The more we do, the better we get at forecasting the cost. We try, of course, to get to a gross margin of about 50% on the cost, and even more than that. And we're usually pretty good at doing so.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure in the beginning when you're doing your first few campaigns, you probably don't really know what to expect, but you guys have probably done hundreds or even thousands of campaigns at this point. I guess that's a good question: is how many campaigns are you guys running on a weekly basis?
So it kind of varies throughout the existence of Askem. We've had about 60 to 70,000 people respond to our surveys. And it varies. The actual number of surveys varies by the week, but we try to run as much as we can, of course.
Cool. What have you learned by being the CEO of this company? What's made you into a better entrepreneur now than when you started?
Wow, I think that's a great question, by the way, because I feel like I'm learning new things every day. And a startup environment is very very different than a corporate environment. I think one of the main things that I've learned is that if you get to if you get to a really good product market fit, then things start becoming easier and easier.
Yeah.
Right? So you gotta try to focus on perfecting that, and once you get to that stage, things start becoming easier and easier. And one of the things that is I think very important to remember is that there's a lot of challenges, but there's always a lot of challenges. So just remember that as you're plowing through. It's a grind, but as you're plowing through it, just remember that.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, since you guys have investors, I'm going to assume that right now you're more focused on growth than you are profits, right?
That is true. That is true. So we're focused mostly on on U.S. market penetration, and we are focused more on growth and getting as many people to answer our surveys and getting as many companies to use our surveys and our tools, and that's our main focus.
What is, out of, all the conversations you have on a weekly or monthly basis with your investors, does any single piece of advice stand out as, kind of the best?
I think there's a few things. First of all, I'd say even if you put aside the advice, the people that, especially in a startup company, the people that you surround yourself with are very very important. So try to surround yourself with good investors, and try to surround yourself with good mentors and smart people that could actually give you good advice, right, when in the right time. I think some of the best advice that I've been given is to try things out. So sometimes you're like you have a few different options, and you're trying to contemplate between those different options. The best thing is just to ask, right, and to get things out and see, both from a get feedback from your consumer base, rather than sitting inside within the company and trying to deliberate things between the founders and the different employees and so on. If you have an idea, if there's a direction that you like to take it, and see how it impacts your business.
How big can this company get? And do you guys think you'll be a standalone company 3 years from now, or do you think you'll be acquired?
That's a good question. Back in the day, I always used to plan 5 years ahead. Then it went down to 4. And now, I always try to especially in the, within the startup, I always try to think about, 2 and below. So, right now our focus is really creating a stunning product, getting, very strong market share, and really, making market research more accessible to companies that haven't been able to use it in the past. And
I'm guessing there are market research companies out there that have been around for, a couple decades that are probably doing tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars a year in revenue, right?
This industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Right. Okay.
And it's just a small part of the actual business community in North America is actually using those types of services. So our focus right now is to make those services readily available, and then time will tell where this would go. There's definitely we can get acquired, we can grow as a standalone company, but right now our main focus really is on delivering a very strong product and service around it. And if there's anybody who's interested in talking more strategically, we're always happy to.
Cool. Yeah, that's a hard question to answer. I usually like to ask it, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's impossible to know what the company is going to be in 3 years. Like you said, it's in the startup world. I mean, we're more worried about 3 to 6 months. Maybe 6 to 12 months, but 3 to 5 years seems like forever. Just last couple questions here. If you could be mentored by anyone, who would it be? Like, do you have a favorite entrepreneur or CEO that you look up to?
I'll try not to be too broad, but I'd say that Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook has always been an inspiration in terms of the way that he's built the company, and he's continuing to build the company, right? And some of the innovation that he's bringing to it. It always seems like it's at the it has gotten to a position where it's doing everything that it can do, and then you figure out that there's something new that is happening, through everything that is going around in messaging and Messenger right now, everything that he's doing around VR, 360 videos. It's just amazing. So,
are you able to tell us how much you guys spend in Facebook advertising per month or per year?
A lot of money.
A lot. I'm guessing it's a lot. Yeah, of course. I mean, you guys are well into the six figures, I'm sure, right?
Not so much, but we should get there. At one stage, we will definitely get there from that perspective.
No doubt you will. And then I guess the last question is: do you have a favorite book, TV show, or blog?
Yeah, you know what? I'm a big fan of the Netflix original productions, and being that I live in New York, I was really, really impressed by the Get Down, the Baz Luhrmann series. If you haven't seen it, it's really amazing. Both a combination of, it's inspiring. It shows you how, people can grow even in environments that are very challenging. And the combination of the music in it, and just seeing New York, in the 70s, the Bronx in the 70s, it's just amazing. Really, it's just they've done an amazing job in terms of creating a very enticing, interesting, and just inspiring show. Hopefully, they were supposed to do 12 episodes. They only did 6. Hopefully, they'll do the other 6. I'm waiting for those.
I'm guessing, yeah. I mean, typically these popular shows, it does seem like the first seasons sometimes are really short, just to see if it's going to be a big hit with the public, and then then they sign on for a couple more seasons if it does turn into a hit. Like I got really obsessed with Colony, and I watched I literally started watching the first season on Christmas Day, and 10 hours later, I'd watched the entire first season. Like, I just sat there. I was addicted, 10 straight hours in a row. But luckily, afterwards, I Googled it, and the second season is starting in a couple weeks. So that's a really good show. And then I guess I will ask one last question. If you could give any piece of advice to an aspiring entrepreneur, someone that's looking to start a company in the next year, what would you tell them?
I'd say, find a good idea, surround yourself with really good people, even more important than the idea, because the ideas tend to change, depending on the market. So find people that you like working with, that, complete you and you complete them, and, just get on it, and, things will come together.
It's like a marriage, isn't it? It can be.
It is definitely.
You can't really get divorced. It's easier to get divorced in a marriage than it is to break up a company. You can't just walk your separate ways. Well, thank you so much, Ido. I really appreciate it. You've been a wonderful guest. Thanks for sharing so much great advice and giving us some insights as to what's going on at Askem. How can we all help you? How can we help you, or how can we help the company? How can we find you online?
So, go to askem.com. If you have questions, chat with us online. Feel free to send me an email as well. My email is ido@askem, ASKEM.com. And try it out. The only thing that I could ask anybody who's thinking about doing something new is try our software out. Try out how things work, and try to get those insights from your customers. I promise you won't regret it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll put your email address in the show notes. That way, if anyone needs to reach out to you, they can do so. And once again, thank you so much for coming on, man, and certainly wish you the best going forward.
Thank you, and happy New Year. Hopefully, 2017 will be a great year.
I hope so. No doubt about it. Can't be any worse than 2016.
That is correct. I didn't want to say that, but once you said it.
It was 2016. It seemed like it was a hard year for a lot of people.
Oh my God! I just hope that we're not going to lose any more actors and singers.
No kidding,
and
man.
It's just like every day, it's crazy.
We only got like 3 more days to go, so hopefully everyone.
I know, but it's just it seems like it's happening every day. It's like we're losing so many of those amazing personas, and just this year has indeed been pretty challenging. But hopefully, 2017 everything will turn around and it will be just easy and fun.
For sure, totally agree. Well, thank you so much, man. Like you said, Happy New Year, and stay safe, stay warm.
Thank you. Same to you.
Okay, talk to you soon. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.